All right, so week one of the mental skills training program is all about deliberate focus. Now, if we really quickly start off with what are the 5 skills, we're talking about emotional control, focus and concentration, self-talk, imagery, and pre-performance routines. And we're going to touch on all 5 of those skills throughout, but I thought that a great first week is going to get you started within what you can do within your training on a day-to-day basis in order to help you get a little bit more effect out of your training, right? We want to be a little bit more deliberate inside of what we're doing in training. So when we're doing the work, that we're getting the most out of it. So that's where what I like to call the deliberate focus journaling comes into play. Now, the deliberate focus journal is something that athletes at the highest of levels do, especially where they're at the high levels. Very, very small increments of progress are going to be able to put them and give them the edge inside of competition. And that's the same thing that goes for you. They've gotten really, really, really good at being effective inside of training, using their workouts wisely. Now, the biggest issue and the biggest reason for deliberate focus journaling is the fact that as well as I do, that you have 1,000 things that you could work on. And if we think about all thousands of those things that you could work on within the swim, the bike, and the run, really, you're never really going to get better at any of those if you focus on all of them. Moreover, the more effective way about going about things is developing skills and foci, one at a time. Developing those skills one at a time, which is where the deliberate focus journal comes in. Now, let me explain this a little bit. And this is within your packet. This is within your workbook. But really, this goes through an example of what the deliberate focus journal is and how to utilize it. But from here on out, throughout the entire 12 weeks, I expect you to be able to utilize this focus journal every time you go into a new training discipline. So if you're going to be training the swim, I want you to do one of these. If you're going to be training inside of the bike, I want you to do one of these before and after every one of those training sessions in order to help you maximize your training efforts. This is a really easy thing to do to help you get focused, to be a little bit more deliberate about your practice, and to have a little bit more purpose within your practice as well. So the first thing that I want you to simply answer is, what is your main focus today? Or answer the question of, today I'm going to focus on. And I want you to give me a specific answer. This could be technical, this could be tactical, this could be physical, this could be mental. Whatever it might be, I want you to pick one thing that you're going to get better at that day, or that you're going to focus on that day in order to get better at. And that, again, is, if you're in the bike, you can be anything from, I want to have a positive attitude throughout the entirety. I want to work on my self-talk. I want to work on my cadence. I want to focus on my pedal stroke. I want to focus on staying relaxed, on my breath, on staying present. I don't care what you guys want to work on. I want you just to pick one. Every single discipline that you do, pick one foci for that training effort, and then really work on that one thing for that one day. Because when you're able to focus on one thing, you're going to get better and better. And that one thing, overall bringing everything else up with it, all those other things that you want to work on. This just gets you a little bit more focused, a little bit more deliberate about how you go about training. So again, what is the one main thing that you're going to get out of or focus on today? Now, after your training effort inside of that discipline, I want you to answer these questions. Number one, I want you to put 3 things that went well that day. These are the things that you did good. These are the things that you were impressed about yourself. These are your strengths. These are the things that you felt like, wow, even if it was a horrible, bad training effort, whatever it might be, I still want you to find 3 things, because there's always going to be 3 things that you can focus on that are good, that are effective, that are helpful. Now, secondly, I want you to ask yourself, what's one thing that you could do better? One thing that you want to work on next time, one thing that you want to get better at doing, or that you felt was a little bit lackluster. And lastly, how are you going to improve this? Now, this is an effect or a little training technique called Well Better How. Well Better How is very effective at really being able to analyze, reflect, and assess on your training efforts. Again, giving yourself some awareness over what you can work on, and then getting a little bit more focused and deliberate about working on those things. Lastly is going through your scales. Now, I like to call this my daily feast. Because heck, when I get hangry, we all know what we get like when we get all hangry. We get upset, we get emotional, we get really reactive, to say the least. And when I get that way, I want to also always check my feast. and make sure I get a feast, right? So the feast is focus, effort, attitude, satisfaction, and teamwork. I want you to rate yourself on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being that it was just horrible that day, and 5 being you did really well. Now, typically within the feast, these are going to be your biggest controllables inside of your training efforts. Your focus, you can control. Your effort, you can control. Your attitude, you can control. Now, satisfaction comes from a lot of these things, but we want to rate it a little bit just to see kind of where it goes over time, because you want to know, how satisfied you are with your training efforts over time. And lastly, your teamwork. Now, let me explain teamwork really quick. Teamwork is not necessarily the way that you work with other people. Teamwork is really the way that you work with yourself. This is going to be really, solidified on your self-talk. Were you able to back yourself up today? Were you able to support yourself today? If you're having a bad day, okay, that's fine. Everybody has bad days, but what are you doing in order to help get through that or be facilitative of you having a good day or having a good training effort or whatever that might look like. But we need to learn how to train or to back ourselves up first and to be a good teammate for ourselves. So when we're able to be a good teammate for ourselves, we're able to be a good teammate for other people as well. But we got to work on us first. Keep that in mind as you move through this next 12 weeks, but get really, really focused this next week. And we start with the focus journaling because it's a really tangible, effective thing that you can do to get more out of your training. Again, below you're going to see a bunch of different sheets, right? A whole bunch of different sheets, and these are to be used for training, and you can actually mark if it's a training or a race. You can write some notes down. If you have questions that you'd like to integrate or that you'd like to ask to the coaches, please let us know what your questions are, but here's a space to write those down so you can actually do something with that. And then, as soon as you're finished up with the amount of focus journaling templates that we provided for you, you can actually go ahead and print out more. There is a template for that just below. You can download that, get some more printed off. But again, this is the one thing that if you don't do anything else throughout this entire training program, this is the one thing right here that will help you really achieve more throughout your entire effort in, especially going into this race. Get more deliberate about your training, and you're going to get more out of your training, period. And that's the whole piece for this next week. I want you to focus on it and start getting in the habit of utilizing the training journal, being able to write your thoughts down. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Ink it, don't think it. Put it down on paper, put it down on writing so you can remember exactly what you're going to do and get a little bit more deliberate. And this is going to be a theme throughout the entire training program. Deliberateness, deliberate action is really going to pop up a lot throughout this entire training program. So keep that in mind. But for right now, make sure you utilize the training journal over the next the next week here, and the entirety of the 12 weeks. But if you have any questions, please let us know. Ask us questions. Please make sure you jump on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Follow us there. We also have a lot of things going on there. But as always, in the comment section below, if you have any questions, throw them in there. Write your stories about how you're utilizing this tool, this tactic, and what it's doing for you. And keep an awareness over those pieces as well. Look forward to seeing you next week. Get focused this next week. Get grit this next week. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one, guys.